Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, regardless of where you are. Thank you for joining the Spiritist Talk series promoted by the United States Spiritist Federation. So, we gather here every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So, I am very happy to host this talk today by, a great friend of us here. Speaking, in terms of Georgia, but not in Georgia, but different spiritist movement, with Brian Vosberg, and he'll be talking about a very interesting topic, which is love for all. Hi, Brian. How are you?
Hello, how are you all today?
We're doing great. I mean, we're curious to learn more about the topic. Of course, a very warm welcome to you. Uh, Before you start your presentation, allow me to introduce you to those who um, haven't met you yet, haven't been to one of your lectures. So basically, Brian Vosberg has been a Spiritist speaker and presenter since 2005, having spoken at centers in New Jersey, New York, and Florida, as well as being part of past Spiritist symposia. Brian actively advocates living principles of the doctrine and living a moral life. Professionally, he is a licensed professional civil engineer working as a project engineer overseeing state roadway construction projects in the Tampa, Sarasota area of Florida. Again, a warm welcome to you. And please take this opportunity. This is a live session, so uh, take this opportunity to send your questions during the presentation using the chat window, either on Facebook or YouTube. And because we will reserve time at the end to address your comments and questions once Brian concludes his presentation. Uh, Brian, thank you again, and the floor is yours, sir. Sir.
All right, thank you. And again, thank you for the invitation for me to speak for the United States Spiritist Federation. My topic today was love for all. And when I originally brought it up, it was a topic that I had talked about at my local center at Peace and Knowledge a year ago. And with that, I was sitting there saying, like, it's Valentine's Day, it's that season of love. But yet we share all this love for our significant others, our closest friends and family, and we leave a lot of people out. So that it's become this little thing that you'd see. It's like, you know who's in love because they're getting ready for Valentine's Day. You know who's lonely and who are upset because of this particular season, this time. And it was one of these things that, having gone through both sides, being married, divorced, and all this other stuff, I've been on both sides of these things, and I can feel the euphoria of when you're in love and having this day to share specifically for you, for with your significant others. But as I come and started reading the doctrine and reading more and more into it, we kind of forget a few things and realize that we're supposed to be brothers and sisters to all. And that's where this topic has progressed in the time in this last year. Starting off in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 6, item number 5. O Spiritists, love one another. This is the first teaching. Educate yourselves. This is the second. By you just being a part of this webcast today, you're already doing the second one. But are we doing the first one? Loving one another. As Glacio mentioned, that I have great friends. The Spiritist community as a whole has been another family for me. I look forward to visiting every center I go to, being warmly welcomed and sharing all the love, the hugs, the warm embraces with the people I meet at all these different centers that I've had a chance to visit. And it's been a wonderful experience. We just recently had a Christmas party, actually for me, a couple of Christmas parties. And it's always wonderful to see when the Spiritist communities have these events, how they are very warm, they're inviting, and they are embracing. And especially when you have people from all these different communities. Spiritism came back to the United States from Brazil, and so we have this large Brazilian group that is coming here, sharing it with us, and then the Americans and all the others that are here are embracing this and enjoying this camaraderie, this collective warmth to share, to love. When I was preparing for this lecture, there are multiple types of love that is identified out there. Eros, philia, storge, agape, ludus, pragma, philautia. I cannot say that one. I'm sorry. And then mania. Mania was an interesting one to see being put in there because it's usually a not a nice type of love, whereas all the other ones you can see passionate love, philia, the French love for friendship, the familial love, universal love, playful, enduring, self love. You see all these various types of love. And you can see here, I pulled this one little graphic off of the internet here because it had like these catalysts in how to show touch, shared beliefs, gratitude, kindness, smiling, flirting. I'll leave off to the side, showing interest, respect, and appreciation. Take those and say, can you do all of those to every person you meet? Can you take those ideas, touch, handshake, a helping hand, share beliefs? In this day and age, we're still working on that one. But when you have something in common, no matter what it is, it's a shared belief. And it's something you can use to communicate. It's something you can have for a connection. Showing gratitude. You do this every time you go to a restaurant, tip the waitress, talk to the wait staff, to the management. When you go to your places of business, when you work, you have your people that come in, and you got your boss. You're grateful for your boss. You have your job. You're showing all these wonderful attributes, not just to your closest members of your family. You're showing it to everyone. We see that by doing all these different types of love, by actually combining them all together into a truly universal love, the agape love, we can go over a lot of the problems that we encounter in our day-to-day lives and in our societies, the community as a whole. But we have to be mindful of these things. We have to remember these things. And that's hard to do. We see a lot of topics where it's easy to say something, it's very hard to do. But yet, having reminders is a good way to remember that, yes, I am supposed to be friends to all. Jesus gave us the two commandments: love God above all things and love your neighbor as yourself. This will be repeated many times today. Loving your neighbor as yourself. We can put pretty much any person in that neighbor slot and see who we have in that, and treat that person as we want to be treated. A loved one, a person on the streets, server, your subordinate, a boss, your children. Treat them as you want to be treated. Love them as you want to be loved. By pushing out there, by saying, like, treating others exactly how you want to be treated, this allows for a different type of communication. It's a nonverbal. Because me coming to you, giving you a warm hug, says something totally different than me saying, "Oh, hi, how are you?" They're different. Even a handshake is still warm, more warm and inviting. Even here, seeing that there are different types of handshake, which is kind of strange to see, but if you present your hand vertically, proves that you're an equal. By turning it, you feel yourself as a superior or as a subordinate just by how you turn your hand. But let's do that with love. We need to love equally. And that's kind of the topic for this thing here, the love for all. Again, here's the topic, love God above all things and one's neighbor as ourselves. Now, I got this one from this book here. It's kind of hard to see, and I'm sorry for it, but it's from the Leal publisher, Spiritism, Spiritual Philosophy of Today's World. It's up there in the back to the slide. It's on the top there. Very good reading. It's for me. It came to be a modern update to, in many cases, the Spirits book. And I highlighted living. It just almost every page has highlighting on it. As part of that, I was going through and noticing how many times these concepts keep coming back. Like these two up here. Love God above all things, one's neighbor as yourself. Do not do to others what you do not want them to do to you. We can see that even by doing things like by following the 10 Commandments. You don't steal from someone. You don't want your stuff stolen. You don't lie. You don't bear false witness. And you don't want someone to lie, bear false witness to you. So why do we do this? And I'll get to that one here shortly here, because the law of love is not in practice. It's as it's written in this book, it was saying that the law of love is the wisest of all. If you truly love a person or anyone, if you love humanity, if you love this planet, then you'll treat them differently. You'll care about them. You'll want to make sure that they're properly taken care of. That, and in many cases, you want them to be able to take care of you. Treat your neighbor as yourself. By loving this law of love and seeing how you can do this, how can you apply this? Here in the United States, I go around a lot, and I always see this lovely little slogan, God, family, country. Sometimes it's changed around. The Marine Corps usually goes God, Corps, country, because they treat the Corps as their family, and there's something to that, because they're treating, as the doctrine has pushed to us, we need to treat each other as brothers and sisters. We need to treat all of humanity as family. We shouldn't have an extra layer. It should be God and humanity, all of us together. I remember discussing this I was actually getting my eyes checked for the annual physical. I was talking to my doctor. I had this book with me, and it's interesting to see that as I was having this wonderful conversation with him, it helped develop this idea of like just God and humanity, and the blessings that came from that. In this particular instance, we carried our conversation into the waiting room area. There was another gentleman there, and he got brought in this conversation. So having this discussion, having this talk, and being open about it, this open communication, treating each other as equals, treating each other as brothers and sisters, allowed for this this wonderful conversation to take place, to the point where the gentleman in the waiting room helped me out with my bill. I was a little short, and he gave me more than I needed. I can't pay him back. I would like to, but he told me, "Go. Wonderful message. Keep going." So I says, "You know what? I'm going to pay this forward." So that personal message to me was a warm reminder to me of what happens when we do love each other. I'm meeting two strangers for the first time, and I have this wonderful, warm, open dialogue discussion with them, both of them, to the point where I ended up needing help, not knowing it at the time, and had that blessing of having being given extra, being given more. Leading thought to mutual respect, love, true solidarity, and authentic fraternity. When we start leading a life filled with love, when we have love in our hearts, when we do, as again using a Christmas term, the Grinch did at the end of the book or end of this show, depending on how you've been introduced to it, his heart grew three sizes. If we let our own hearts grow those same three sizes, we would have mutual respect, love, true solidarity, and authentic fraternity with all of us, our brothers and sisters. And using a comment from the Spirit's book, question 799, materialism is a bane on society. And we use that to create all these unnecessary divisions that need to go away. Caste, color, creed. How many times do we see in our day to day lives, the news, whatever you have, that we separate, that we divide for whatever reasons? This being 2024 in the United States, it's an election year. We're going to have a lot of it this year. It's just how that system works. But it shouldn't have to be. We shouldn't be putting dividing ourselves up and creating additional conflicts that don't need to be there. If we open and talk with each other and have that love in our hearts, we should be able to have a discussion, a dialogue. We may not agree, but at least we can have that discussion, that dialogue. If you've ever had a chance to go to a Spiritist center and they go through and they're studying one of the doctrinal books, or even maybe one of the external ones, like Andre Louise, Emmanuel, and you go through and you read it together, one of the wonderful things that I've always appreciated for him, and I love this immensely, is when you read a question and you go around and you discuss it, and how each person will take a different point of view on what was just read. Every question will be different. And that's because being that we are spirits of multiple lives, very different experiences. We come from this lifestyle with this background of knowledge that won't be the same as the person to your left and to your right. But yet, that point of view can be helpful. If you're struggling to understand a question or how this applies to you, then the other person may say, "This is how I see this." And it may give you that aha moment of sitting there saying, "Hey, this makes sense now." Because they can see a path forward. They've gone through that in their experience, in their lifetime. So they're putting their point of view on it, which may give you a different point of view as well that you can sit there and say, oh, I understand now. It's always wonderful to go through and have these discussions with others. Just as in part of this lecture series, at the end, we're going to have question and answers for you to ask questions to me in this one or for whoever's presenting. And that way, we're sharing information. Then I understand something of your point of view, and I can share my point of view with you. That's why we have different presenters each week. That way, we're not getting just one point of view. We're getting multiple. And this is a way of sharing this love, this solidarity, this friendship, because we're working together. We're not just following one person, even though we have a supreme example in Jesus to follow. All of us together, working together to help make the world a better place. This world's in a world of transition. We're transitioning, and we need to put in effort to help with the progression of this transformation. In Joanna D'Angelo's book, Empty Lives, she mentions these topics. Awaken to true love. Start walking with those who live in solitude. Invest in those who yearn for love. You were reborn on earth to love, teach love, sing love, and demonstrate the excellence of love. Happy are those who understand the duty to help, even when they need help. I know this one touched me personally. Going through and walking, trying to help those I can. Yes, I'm hurting myself. There are days I'm sad. There's days I'm lonely, whatever. But that doesn't stop me from reaching out and helping others. In a similar vein that I would see online, it's attributed to Robin Williams, which I'm not sure if it's true or not. But they're always saying, like, the basic idea of it is the person that always cheers the other people up in a room is usually the saddest of them all. And that's kind of like what Joanna D'Angelo's wrote right here. Happy are those who understand the duty to help, even when they need help. How many people out there need love? As I mentioned at the beginning, in this season of love, there are people that don't have that special someone. They could have passed on. They could be in a senior living home. They could just be divorced. They could be, or they just haven't found the right one yet. But they also need love. We may not be able to give the warmest that we can, but we should always be mindful and helpful to them. My center here, Peace and Knowledge, has a caravan of love that goes out and they help the homeless, and they, as well as they go out and sing and dance to the senior communities. To many of them, it is a happy day because of the love, the fraternity, and the friendship we share. We help them out. They're suffering. they're hurting, we're able to ease their pain and give them something to look forward to. When we go, I know of a couple of people that would go to these senior living. They would tell me how there's these certain people, they would have be active. They would wake up, they would come alive, knowing that the group was coming to sing and perform and make them happy, to entertain them. And they would do everything possible to make sure that they were there. How often do you go through life not realizing, just by even saying a kind word, have a beautiful, blessed day, can make a person's life brighter? Sharing just a few words is a sharing of love that helps brighten a person's day. Joanna DeAngelis the next book in that group, come together as a family and sing the fraternity hymn without borders or prejudices. Let the light of love shine bright. Be of good cheer and give yourself over to love. I want to focus a little bit on that, without borders or prejudices. As I already mentioned in Spirits Book 799, the spirits also say that we need to break these bonds of division. This other book, Spiritism, Philosophy, and World's Light, also highlights many, many times how we let our selfishness, our pride, our base desires get in the way. And you can kind of see this in our day-to-day lives in this interaction. We need to be mindful of our actions too. Are we being transactional? Oh, I'll love you, but you have to do this for me. Making it a conditional love. I see this a lot in like relationship counseling, coordinating. They do all this a lot. They focus in on this and like trying to sit there and say, it's like, it shouldn't be this 50-50 rule when it should be 100%. I love you 100%. You love me 100%. I give you my all. You give me your all. But we also should share that love with our children, the people on our street, everybody. I know that it's hard. We're not Jesus yet. We're working towards it. But we do need to practice, and we need to be mindful of how we could be hurting other ones. We may love that person to death, but we need to be mindful that, are we doing things that could be interpreted as hurtful? The light of light needs to shine bright. And give yourself over to love. As long as you try to put love first and foremost, you shouldn't go wrong. Many of us were driving down the road, and as mentioned in the introduction, I'm a civil engineer. I'm in there. I make the construction zones happen. Everyone hates them. And for me, I have to put a lot of blessings on the motoring public, because those orange cones do not stop a car. So I have to put love and respect to the motoring public, stay on that side of the cone. My crew, work on improving the roadways to make it better, so that we leave when the construction zone's gone and picked up and cleaned up. That road is in a better shape, better condition, maybe more lanes, a new bridge, a new way of traveling to make life better for you. But during that time, it's painful. It hurts. I understand that. I, there's so much in my job that I have to go through to make sure to reduce the amount of pain I cause. Work nights, you know, only do so much in a time. It's that is a me trying to be mindful of you on that job. So it's like me trying to show respect and love to you on a professional sense. But that doesn't mean that I don't care. Yes, I throw lane closure up, it hurts. And I'm making things better. But this is a way we're trying to make life better for all. And this is doing it through work, through not through the spiritism, through the doctrine, even though it is directly linked to it. It's like I says, from my point of view, when I read the doctrine, I see how what the readings and the teachings I see in the doctrine apply to me, not just when I'm there, but how they apply to me day to day, 24/7, 365. Reading this and how God, the spirits, everyone is in our lives to work and progress and make life better for all. We're all learning, we're all educating ourselves, we're all growing. And we can work together to make it better. From another book, for love's sake, Jesus chose a despised Samaritan as a symbol of solidarity. For love's sake, Jesus freed a wayward woman by removing her guilt complex. For love's sake, Jesus assisted the Syro-Phoenician foreigner who asked his help with her daughter's infirmity. His heart and hands were filled with love to strew it over the downtrodden, whether a tax collector, an adulteress, a prodigal son, an impoverished widow, or a mourning mother. Love was always on his agenda, illuminating lives and assisting the needy in body, mind, and soul. Look at these people here. For those that have read the Bible, the Samaritans were not well liked, but Jesus used him as an example to elevate him, the Samaritan, over people of prestige, over the people that were respected in a community. Helping a tax collector, someone that was hated, an adulteress, these people that were despised by the community. He poured his heart out and loved them too, and helped to elevate them up because he saw in them a brother or a sister. He didn't shun anyone, and we shouldn't either. We shouldn't cast away, push aside. Again, we see this happening so often in our communities, day-to-day lives. But we don't take into account that that these people need help, just as we need help. And we need to work together, find a way to make things work better. And even the people that are down on their luck, the downtrodden, we should be able to find better ways to elevate them, get them the help they need. Open yourself up to love and love without expecting a response. There was an example I was just reading about the people that bury the dead, how much love they go into putting the efforts, time, money into a funeral for a person that will never be able to say thank you. It may be beneficial to them. It may be a sign of respect, but you're loving without expecting a response. We need to have compassion for those who err, who do wrong. We need to help those who stumble. We need to tolerate wrongdoers. I know, and like for me personally, growing up, me being the curious kid that I was, had to touch the hot pot and get burned. I had to put my finger in the electrical socket and get the zap to respect and to learn. Even though my parents on multiple occasions told me, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. I had to tolerate the wrongdoing so I would finally learn the lesson. And I learned it the painful way. So, and as we read through the doctrine, how much of what we're going through in our day-to-day lives is just because we had to learn the hard way, because we didn't pay attention to the wise words that were told to us from people who have gone through and done this before. Jesus chose love as a solution to all matters at hand. He anchored the pillars of humane ethics in love. We tend to separate morality and ethics, and there's a little bit of justification to it, but when you put love into it, it brings the two together. So we need to keep love in our hearts. Thus, by getting away of one of our great sins, because as mentioned before, selfishness, pride, arrogance, those don't show love. Those create misery, not only for the person themselves, but for others. But love is balm that soothes many sins. So from the really small book here, the Spiritism in its simplest expressions, all of us are brothers and sisters because God calls all of us to him. So reach out your hand out to each other. Let us go forth from here. So I'm finishing up this lecture right now and handing this over to the Q&A section. We do need to remember and be mindful of those around us, not just our closest friends and family, but we need to expand outward and be mindful of, we don't know the story of why this person's going through what they're going through. It shouldn't matter. But we should be there to support them, to help them in whatever way we are possible. Even if, like I said, if it's a kind word, keep going. We need to be there for each other. How many of our conflicts today would go away if we had just taken into account by putting God above all others and loving our neighbors ourselves as Jesus has mentioned to us? Many of the wars going on in the world today would not happen because we would treat the other side as brothers and sisters. We would respect them as well as we would want to be respected. With that, I'll turn this back over to Glacio for the Q&A session.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Thank you for all the reflections that you provided to us. Actually, it's a very interesting topic, and it's very encompassing, right, to say the
Yeah.
least. Uh, before we get into the Q&A session that is going to start shortly, I have some announcements. The first one is our podcast-like series, Psychology and Spirituality: A Bridge to a Better Life, based on the works of Joanna De Angelis. There's a new episode every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern, available, and is available on both YouTube and Spotify. The Psychology and Spirituality weekly talks are based, again, and they offer a safe space to confront, compare, correlate, and expand spirituality concepts from a psychological lens, bringing insights, actionable tips, and real world advice to help you lead a better life. So stay tuned every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Uh, Also, the United States Spiritist Federation has launched a new Spiritist app. So I gotta emphasize it's a Spiritist app. So it's called Be My Hope. It is available now for download either on App Store or Google Play. Brand new. It's a brand new app and offers uplifting content in a collection of videos, daily messages, and audio materials. So download it now. So very interesting. And as you can see, the U.S. Spiritist Federation does provide assistance, several programs, and I was actually supposed to have yeah, there was a QR code down there, and again, so pretty much it as a way for each one of us to help the U.S. Spiritist Federation to produce more publications and promote Spiritists to everyone. So again, feel free to scan the QR code on the screen if you want to help the U.S. Spiritist Federation with the donation. All right, Brian. So let's start addressing now the comments and questions from the audience. And by the way, there's still time to send additional questions if you feel like. All right, the first one here comes from the U.S. Spiritist Federation. Why there seems to be people who, since day one of their reincarnation, are surrounded by love, whereas there are others who go through life experiencing only loneliness.
Ooh, in many ways, I feel myself in that second category. Um, but I mean, with this one here, we are taking into account reincarnations. So we are putting into within the Spiritism what was the life plan that was put in place before coming to Earth, being born again in this new life. And is it a person that had had wonderful achievements and that thus they are surrounded by love, or is this things or did they abuse it in the past life? I mean, look at I'm gonna use Emmanuel in the two books, 2,000 years ago and 50 years later. When you look at he had a loving wife in 2,000 years ago, Livia, and from her interactions with the early Christian church, she he thought that he was having an affair and ended up hating her, not realizing that she had actually turned to the teachings of Christ. And he ended up regretting that when she was killed in the Circus Maximus. And into the next life, you see him 50 years later, he's a servant, he's alone, but he still has this wonderful love within his heart because he helps the people in that book, in that story. Because he did have the message of Christ that he first learned as Publius Lentulus and then as this servant and then in 50 years later. And even another personal example, real quick, having gone through and meeting the young artist Akiana, I kind of got this exposure to what Publius went through in 2,000 years ago with the meeting of Jesus and that aura that he has around him and that love and how uplifting that is. So we don't know who this person could be in your life and how they could, maybe they are the catalyst of why they're being loved. They're with such a higher spirit that they're advancing this love around them so that all the people around them cannot help but feel the love and be loving in return. So,
Thank you. Thank you for that explanation. Thank you for the reference to the two books by Emmanuel. Definitely very interesting series, by the way. So this question comes from Yasko Arakawa. Hi, Brian. Nice topic. I feel in the stage we are right now, we experience all the eight types of love you have mentioned in various propositions, sometimes with serious collateral damage. How do you envision our progress regarding this complex matter?
we are still learning this one. And this is where I give thanks. As mentioned earlier, we had the topic of the psychology or psychology within spiritism, that the one that they have every Friday. That's a start because we're finding out just how much this love, because for us love is an intangible. We don't see we don't see where it's coming from. We don't see where it's going, just like the wind, but we feel its effects. So we feel all these different types of love. And especially like I says, that last one, mania, that's a type of love. You may love someone, but that's your stalker. That's your They're dangerous ones, the possessive ones. They still love that person, but they love it in a wrong way. And when this is something that we have to work on, this is something we are, I would say, and this is a personal opinion, we're still in the infancy of learning how this progress is being done. Psychology has come a long way, and a lot of it has to do with the influences that the teachings that we have from Spiritism, the doctors, the people that are in psychology are learning through other means. They're getting the same information and they're finally applying it in a scientific realm and realizing just how much that even though we have love, all eight types of love, we all have them in different levels. So like some of us may have lower self-love but higher fraternal love or grateful love that we can be beneficial to helping others. We're still learning this process. And it's going to take some time, but I'm thankful that we're actually embracing this and we're putting attention to this, not just in the spiritual sense, but in the scientific sense as well.
Thank you. Next question. How does that's from the TVC International Spirit from the International Spiritist Council? How does self-love play a role in promoting love for others?
Usually they always say that self-love is the wellspring for you to share love to others. And this has a layer of truth to it because you have to have a measure of love for who you are. You have to have a measure of love for being a person, being a human being, being someone that can contribute. You have to be willing to love yourself to that regard. When you and then thus you're putting some value in yourself. And then you can reach out and share that love to others. We see this with Jesus when he does uplift these downtrodden. He's basically telling them, you have value. And this is something we don't do amongst ourselves. We don't tell each other they have value. And when we do this, it helps promote within them to start filling up their own wellspring of self-love. And then thus they feel stronger. They are emboldened to go out and help others. So in many ways, you need that self-love to go out and help others. If you don't, you're more likely to do the mania love, or you're doing things, or you're being transactional. Oh, I'll help you, but you got to do this something for me. So we have to keep in mind that we have to build ourselves up too. And this is where we put the focus in on, and yes, the warmth we receive from others, it helps us to have value and share with us that we are beings worthy of love, We need our own reminders of that. Again, this is just like my example with the light socket or the electrical socket. God already told us he loves us unconditionally. Jesus already demonstrated to us that we are loved unconditionally, no matter who we are. But we need to have that experience. We need to tell ourselves that. So we need to be reminded that we are worthy of love. And then when we have that in our minds, we begin to build our self-love. And as we build our self-love, we can share that with others.
Yeah. I like the comment that you made because whenever Jesus helped someone, he always gave like a plan forward, right? You got to stand up, but you got to walk. You got
Mhm.
to come to me. You should not you see no more. There was always this plan of action after he helps somebody. So it's very interesting the way you put it.
Yeah. Again,
So,
that's that love.
yeah. This comes from our friend Daniel Santos. Is love for all the same unconditional love? If we are not there yet to exercise this type of love, we at least do to now. So one day we display this type of love.
Well, right now, the best examples was the one that was in the presentation. Love God above all, and love your neighbor as yourself. And actually try to live those words. It's not Unconditional love is not the same as love for all. Mainly because for us, we are still learning ourselves. We are not we are still imperfect beings, but we are works in progress. So there's some parts of us that we can't give the true meaning of unconditional love because of something in us that's unfulfilled that we haven't figured out yet. So we need to go forward and realize that we got to embrace that and say, hey, even though I can't give you unconditional love all the time, I can be a helping hand. I can give you a kind word, words of encouragement. I can give you a hug. I can share with you all the same, that you have value. You are worth something to somebody, even if it's to yourself. You are worthy of something. You have value. That's at least a show of love for all. It may not be unconditional, but it's a step in the right process. Everyone you meet, no matter who they are, needs to be worthy of love and respect. They are your brothers and sister, no matter where they came from, who they are, what their experiences are. They are still your brothers and sisters. We have plenty of examples of the black sheep in the family type thing. We just need to extend that to the people in our day-to-day lives.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. So this next question is from the United States Spiritist Federation. How to best express our love to those who are already in the spiritual world?
We always hear the statement saying prayer. Always pray, hold them in your hearts, pray that they are well, that they are looked after, that they are not stuck in, as Andre Luis mentions, umbral, or the lower zones. Help. We see so many times in a lot of the doctrinal teachings, and not even like I just mentioned, Andre Luis, and even one of the books I'm reading right now, Renunciation. The power of prayer is amazing, and if you have that love already for that person, send that love out to them. Say that prayer that they are happy, that they are looked after, that they are taken care of. in the spiritual world. We see a lot of times that the spirits respond positively, especially if they were troubled spirits, that prayer helps them out. That prayer has immense value. So we're always told that, like, before bed, you should say your prayers. You should say your prayer before every meal. If you're Muslim, you pray 5 times a day. Make these prayers mean something and put your heart into it. Even when you say the Lord's Prayer, most of us have it memorized. But think about what you're saying and realize the power within those words and feel it. Don't just say it, feel it. Feel it from here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for clarifying that. Our next question from the US Spiritist Federation again. Do technology and social media have a positive or negative impact on promoting love and understanding among people?
It has both. It is how it is used. Technology and social media is always a tool. Just like every other tool we have. We can use it for good, we can use it for bad. My common one that I always use is the nuclear energy. It is clean energy, but used improperly, we have the atomic bomb. So, on a smaller scale, I was just talking to a beautiful young lady, wishing her the best in her endeavors, and telling her that I'm there for her, I'm supportive. So it's a positive method. But I also have, like it says, I'm divorced, so I have exes, and that person usually tells me how bad of a person I am, and so I get a negative impact from the same technology. So it's how it's used. So when you talk to people, and we do see this, especially like with the social media, we see now the damage when people are bullied on social media, and we have, or they're taunted, they're hiding behind a name, an avatar that's not theirs, and they're saying, I'm hidden in anonymity and I can say whatever I want, and it's incredibly hurtful. But then we have, as mentioned here, the Be My Hope app, which is there to help, which is there to inspire, to give hope to those who need it. So we do need to be mindful of any tool we have has to be a tool that we use properly. We have to put, again, I'll say this many, many times over, we have to put those 2 principles from Jesus foremost in our thoughts all the time. Keep God first and love our neighbors as ourselves. Realize that we are created beings. We are the canvas. God is the painter. Our world is on the canvas, but yet our spirit can leap off the canvas. Our physical world stays on it. But we need to be mindful of that and realize that while we're on this canvas, while we are incarnate, we have to be mindful of our actions. We have to treat each others with respect and love, including on social media. The anonymity may about you, but then that's again the selfishness, that's the pride, that's the arrogance, that's the ego that we want to get rid of, that we need to get rid of. The spirits tell us this all the time, not just in this book. It tells us this in the doctrine all over. We get told multiple times over and over and over again to get rid of our selfishness. We need to do that with the social media. with our words, our deeds, or writing an email, even gossip. We shouldn't gossip if we don't know the facts. And even then, we should give the person the benefit of the doubt. They may be going through hard times and we don't know the details. We won't. So why engage in putting someone in a bad light? We don't know their circumstances.
Thank you very much. Thank you for explaining and explain such a complex topic, right? So that was the last question we had for this morning. So again, Brian, thank you very much, and also thank you everybody who watched today our live talk, and those who have been following us, our weekly Spiritist live talks as well. So next Saturday, it's going to be the 10th, February 10th. We're going to have John Santos, who is going to be presenting another very interesting topic, the Kingdom of God. So stay tuned. That's another very interesting and very applicable. Just like love for all, Brian. That's one of those topics that never goes old, right?
No, and it's different each time.
Hey, that's very true, sir. All right, Brian, would you be so kind to say the final prayer for us?
Sure, I would be glad to. Dear Lord, wonderful mentor, master of all, be with us now as we part company. Be with us and inspire us with what we've received today. Let the light of love shine brightly amongst all of us. Let us take this, bring it into our spirit, into our inner beings. Let this light of love that has been shared make us brighter. Make us be beacons of light, of love, that we can share with those we meet in our day-to-day lives. Let us go forth from here, helping others with this light of love, brightening the entire world, so that we may get through the darkness of our past and into this brighter future. Let the light of love radiate out from each one of us and just like a candle that's shared with another candle, let that light of love continue to grow and to spread. In your name we pray. Amen.